From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
It's May Day. The federal government hails resilient spirit of the Nigerian worker, asks labor unions not to see it as an enemy. As the holy month of Ramadan comes to an end tomorrow, President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates Muslims in the country, assures victory against insecurity is in sight. And head of Guinea's military announces a 3-year transitional plan to return to civilian rule. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo is hailing the resilient spirit of the Nigerian worker and urging labor unions not to view the government as its mortal enemy, but argue as members of one progressive family. He made the appeal while delivering his address at the celebration of Labor Day, which was held at the Eagle Square in Abuja. The Vice President took the opportunity to harp on the collaborations between Labour and what he called the progressive vision for Nigeria, promising that the Buhari administration is committed to ensuring no Nigerian is left behind. The President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, while delivering his speech, highlighted the challenges faced by the working class, blaming Nigeria's political elite for these challenges and accusing them of keeping the masses, workers and the socio-economic struggles faced by Nigerians as footnotes in the 2023 political agenda. The Minister of Labour and Employment, on his part, urged Labour to leverage on the sheer size of the working class in the next elections and dictate the leadership of Nigeria.
It is Workers' Day around the world, and in the nation's capital, various labor unions are flying their colors at the Eagle Square as they remember the sacrifices made by Nigerian workers towards national development. This year, Nigeria's labor unions are harping on labor, politics, and the quest for good governance. And the speeches at this event reflect just that. Beginning with the Minister of Labour and Employment, who's been in the crosshairs with members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities after failing to resolve issues leading to the shutdown of universities in the country. He emphasizes the need for mutual respect between Labour and the government, asking Labour to leverage on its large figures in the next elections.
100 million voters is no joke. So please harvest this. Let us get the PVCs done so that Labour can dictate the way of governance of their country.
The speech from the President of the Nigeria Labour Congress highlights the challenges faced by workers in Nigeria. He has very strong words for Nigeria's political class.
It is only a fair political class that will keep citizens' concerned and issues of national development as footnotes in 2023 political agenda.
For the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the strike action embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities is one that is close to his heart. He calls for more dialogue between both parties.
I want to appeal again to the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the broader labor community to seek the path of dialogue. Disagreement and debate have always been a part of the relationship between labor and government. But even as we disagree today, we must not do so as mortal adversaries, but as members of the same progressive family.
The working man is Nigeria's hero, and that's what May the 1st affords the Nigerian government and its people an opportunity to assess the challenges facing the working man and see his contributions towards national development. The Vice President in his speech talking about the correlation between labor and progressive thought, compelling labor unions not to treat government as mortal enemies, but argue with them as part of one family trying to move the nation forward. He's also promising that the challenges facing Nigeria's working man will be addressed in the nearest future. From Eagle Square in Abuja, Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Workers in other parts of northern Nigeria have also been celebrating this year's May Day with demands on the government to address the current security challenges in the country. They also want better welfare and salary packages for members as they express dissatisfaction with the biting economic situation in the country.
It's Workers' Day, a day set aside to celebrate Nigeria's workforce. It's a fascinating event organized by the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, as workers participate in a march dressed in different attires showcasing their vocations. In Adamawa State, Governor Umaru Fintiri announces that the state government has released the sum of 2.8 billion naira as intervention for payment of gratuity, just as the workers call on the federal government to address the lingering industrial action embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU.
We call on you, Your Excellency, to extend and inform those that are concerned at the national level, that Your Excellency, that we need our children to go back to work.
In the last 3 years, we have taken all necessary steps to turn around the economic fortunes of all residents of Adamawa State. For example, we have invested massively in the security and infrastructure.
In Kaduna State, the union decries the impact of the security challenges in the state on the productivity and safety of workers and the citizens.
We're not saying the military personnel are not doing well. They are doing their best, but we are calling on the federal government to use modern technology in fighting this bandit.
The celebration in Kano State is low-key because of the Ramadan fast, but a one-day symposium is held to tackle issues of payment of salaries, outstanding pensions and gratuity, amongst others.
More than 60% of our demand of last year has been implemented by the government, but I believe there are some other issues that arise within the years.
The workers in Kogi State are asking Governor Yahaya Bello to implement the February 9, 2022 agreement and the cash backing of all promotions, leave bonuses and annual increment of the workers' salaries.
We want to use this occasion to appeal to Your Excellency for the restoration of the way-in allowance.
In Plateau State, workers are encouraged to get their permanent voters card ahead of the 2023 general elections, as the state NLC chairman calls on the federal government to tackle the security challenges in the country.
What the government will be proactive in the measures, not reactive to this measure of security.
A resonating theme during the May Day celebrations across the states is the demand by workers for improved welfare packages and a safe working environment. They hope that the government at all levels will address these areas of concern.
And in the southern part of the country, rallies were held to mark the International Workers' Day. Our correspondents captured how the activities played out in some of the states and the reactions from the state governments to their workers' demands.
The Mobolaji Johnson Arena, formerly Onikon Stadium, is venue for the 2022 International Workers' Day celebration in Lagos, the nation's commercial capital. The Nigerian police band provides the music as various unions march past. Admitting that the welfare of workers is a top priority, Governor Sanwo-Olu outlines what his administration has done to demonstrate this.
I'm pleased to note that I recently approved the implementation of the new minimum wage consequential adjustment for all our retirees on the old pension scheme.
Despite the prompt payment of salaries and the 35,000 naira state minimum wage, which is above the federal government's benchmark, workers in Lagos still struggle with the high cost of living and crunching economic instability.
You cannot take us anywhere, but in pidgin English, they say at all, na imba.
In Ogun State, The Workers' Day celebration is held at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abeokuta. Governor Dapo Abiodun takes salute as members of the state workforce march past.
Let me assure you that your administration is a promise-keeping one. I will continue to remain sincere with that promise.
Workers march past in Oyo State and is blended with a playlet by the Union of Electricity Employees. Governor Godwin Obaseki and his deputy joined workers at the tennis court of the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City for the rally. The governor announced a new minimum wage of 40,000 naira to demonstrate his promise to prioritize workers' welfare.
The government of Edo State has now decided to review the minimum wage for Edo State workers to 40,000 naira a month.
Workers in Bayelsa converged on the Peace Park in Yenagoa, the state capital, for the Workers' Day rally. Governor Dawiye Diri makes some approvals for the list of workers' demands for improved welfare. In Anambra State, southeast Nigeria, workers celebrate their day at the Alex Ekweme Square, Awka, with the new administration. It's the first May Day for Governor Chukwuma Soludo and his deputy, assuring them of improved welfare. Governor Soludo tasked workers to be solution providers.
We are coming for us to work together to build that new Anambra of our dreams. It will require a lot of hard work.
One notable feature on this Workers' Day is the exchange of demands and promissory notes between the workers and their employers. As this year's celebration winds up, the 2023 general elections come to mind, and perhaps offers workers another opportunity to define who can best serve them and their demands.
More on the Workers' Day celebrations today. The Minority Caucus of the House of Representatives is lamenting that the workers are observing the day in pain, agony and despair. The Minority Caucus, in a statement signed by the Minority Leader Ndudi Elumelu, said this is caused by the APC administration, which it describes as insensitive, corrupt and overtly inept. The caucus insists that given their long-standing patriotism, sacrifices and dedication to the development of the nation, in spite of the odds, the Nigerian worker deserves a better welfare package. The opposition lawmakers are calling on the federal government to urgently resolve the issues surrounding the lingering industrial action by lecturers in public universities in the country, as well as initiate more worker-friendly policies for capacity building, as well as incentives to further enhance productivity of the Nigerian workers. And ahead of the Eid al-Fitr celebrations, President Muhammadu Buhari is felicitating with Muslims in Nigeria and across the world as the holy month of Ramadan comes to an end. The president says the fasting period presented an opportunity for reflection for all faithful. In a statement by his spokesperson, President Buhari used the occasion of this year's Eid to appraise the efforts of the government in tackling insecurity, where he notes that the fight has been long and hard and final victory is within sight. Boko Haram and its offshoots, final embers are now fading, according to the president's words. President Buhari further adds that with the designation of bandit groups as terrorists, the challenges of banditry and kidnapping are being tackled differently in the northwest and north-central states. On the issue of oil theft, he says there are special operations to curb illegal oil bunkering in the south-south, with millions of illegally refined products impounded and illegal refineries destroyed. President Buhari highlights on military operations to check disturbing rise in criminal attacks targeting law enforcement and public facilities in the southeast region. In part two after the break, we must rewrite the 1999 Constitution, so says elder statesman Chief Afe Babalola. That's in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government hails resilient spirit of the Nigerian worker on May Day, asks labor unions not to see it as an enemy. President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates Muslims in the country as the holy month of Ramadan comes to an end tomorrow, assures a victory against insecurity is in sight. Elder statesman Chief Afe Babalola makes a call over the 1999 Constitution. Head of Guinea's military announces a 3-year transitional plan to return to civilian rule. As it is Workers' Day today, we've been joined by Ayuba Waba, the nation's #1 worker and president of the Nigerian Workers' Union. He is in our studio in Abuja. Mr. Waba, thank you for joining us on the news at 10 and a happy Workers' Day to you.
Thank you for having me. Happy Workers' Day, Nigerian workers and pensioners.
Right, so let's get into it. What is the state of the Nigerian worker today?
Well, the statistics speaks about the state of Nigerian worker, which has been affected by a lot of factors, particularly the challenges in the economy. So we can say invariably that Nigerian worker and pensioner have not fared very well. If the economy is doing well, you know that Nigerians will fare well. But with the hyperinflation, with the challenges in the economy, and in most cases where even pensioners and workers are not earning their wages as and when due, as you can see from the reportage, a lot of issues outstanding. And basically, and very importantly, is that even the minimum wage of 30,000, you know that is actually eroded with the hyperinflation. So basically, this is the state of the situation of Nigerian worker and pensioner.
If this is the current situation, why are we projecting ahead to 2023? Because there is so much emphasis on that now. We're hearing the conversations going on. From the perspective of the Nigerian worker, why is the 2023 election so important?
Well, thank you. Basically, we are in another election cycle. And with a lot of effort that have been made to get the new Electoral Act in place, there is a lot of confidence that votes will count and that it will not be one man, one vote, one woman, one vote. And therefore, the issue of worker apathy, I think it will be addressed. And basically also that workers will have to take their destinies in their hand. They are citizens of the country, and first and foremost, they also have a right to elect leaders. And what we think also is important at this point in time, instead of continue to lament, is also to take our destinies in our hand. You can see even at the May Day rally, workers displaying their voters' card. That is their power. Because the power of the ballot is actually more stronger than any other power. So basically that is what workers are saying, that, well, we are tired of lamentation. And we are tired of agonizing. We are now going to organize. And this is the issue that I think is most important at this point in time, because we are now at another election cycle. And basically we think the problem of Nigeria is not something that is not unsurmountable. It can be surmounted. We have many that I think looking at the array of Nigerians that are making waves around the world, we are not in short supply of persons with ability to actually fix our economy, fix the security challenge, and also address some of the social security challenges. So basically we thought that we should be able to exercise that franchise and also elect leaders that will also address these humongous challenges that is facing our country. So I think this is the new issue, and we thought also that we should be positive about politics, because hitherto we have left politics, we are only in the streets or actually performing strikes. Strikes and protests alone may not be able to fix those challenges. I think we need to exercise our franchise. And if you look at the number, pensioners, workers both in the informal and informal sector. Certainly we are in the majority, and basically we are well organized. We have looked at the challenge in other spheres and how they have been able to address some of those issues fundamentally. And we have seen in many jurisdictions, workers have taken their destiny in their own hand, and they have been able to fix the system. I can give you many examples. I can give you 6 examples at a go where those things have been able to address. So this is what we are focusing on, and workers' education is going on very strongly in all the nook and crannies of this country, and that's why you see a lot of consciousness is coming up. And you can see even the array of people today that try to float the May Day celebration. We are allowing everybody to come in, those that believe that workers have contributed to the development of this country, and that we build the economy of countries, particularly that of Nigeria, and that we create the wealth. And if we create the wealth, I think we need to also have a better bargain. This is the argument, and this is the perspective.
Well, understandably, there are so many challenges facing the Nigerian worker today. Perhaps it would help if, we concentrated on salaries, and there are many states that are currently owing much of that. What is the NLC doing about it? Yes, even the minimum wage, we still have 4 states that have not commenced. It's immoral. It cannot be justifiable. In the current challenge of economy, where there is hyperinflation, everybody knows that 30,000 certainly cannot take workers home. So we still have 4 states of Abia, Zamfara State, Cross River State, and Taraba State that have not yet commenced the minimum wage. While commending states that have actually commenced long time ago, and even the ones now that are actually improving the minimum wage, we have seen Lagos before now, and even when the minimum wage was 30,000, was paying 35, the highest. But we have seen Edo now also going to 40,000. So you can see clearly it's not about actually lack of resources. It's about the political will. Once there is the will, then there will be the way. So we are taking it from 2 fronts. You can recall that workers in Cross River State have been on strike for more than 1 month. And basically all the states that I've mentioned, our workers are engaging in this discussion and also trying to use all the available tools at their disposal, allowed by law. But this time around also, we are using also the constitutional means. Because you are aware that the minimum wage is a product of our constitution, it's also a product of an act. And anybody violating the Constitution certainly have also violated the sacrosanct nature of what they have sworn to actually uphold. So we'll also test the law in our law courts about those states I've mentioned, but importantly, we'll also keep the struggle on the streets and also trying to speak to their conscience to see reason why workers should be treated with dignity and why pensioners should be paid as and when due. We have seen a situation where in 7 years, a state that is so blessed cannot pay a single pensioner his gratuity, the retirement benefit that he will rely on and his family to actually have a decent living. So this is the situation we're in, and therefore we'll continue to confront those issues. And the political will to do that as well. Ayuba Wawa, thank you again for joining me on the News at 10, and happy May Day celebrations to you. Thank you for having me, and happy May Day. There's no better time than now for Nigeria to redo the 1999 constitution on which it is operating, because the flaws of the current document are there for all to see. That's the view of elder statesman and senior advocate of Nigeria, Afe Babalola. Are Babalola told Channel Television's Ladi Akedulale on our current affairs program, Newsnight, that with the level of insecurity and poverty in the country, which in his view stem from the constitution's problems, elections are not the most urgent assignment. He cites several provisions of the 1999 constitution to buttress his view.
We all know, you know, I know, all my listeners know that our problem is the constitution, which has made constitution very lucrative, the only business. You go to the street today, go out, you see 10 young boys, ask them, hey, what's your business? Politics. B, what's your business? Politics. Out of the 10 will tell you is politics. It has become business. There was no poverty when I was growing up. Under in 60, 65, there was no poverty. Nigeria today is the world poverty capital. And yet, they want to contest election under the same constitution that has brought us to where we are. Left to me alone, let us cure that disease. And that disease is the constitution. And again, the same constitution, section 9, permits the members of House to amend the constitution. Let me read to you. It says, the National Assembly may, subject to the provision of this constitution, alter any of the provisions of the constitution. Alter means change. Any means all, any, the whole, part, or, much, or all. What stops the Parliament, legislators, from amending this constitution and say, it is hereby enacted that there shall be an interim government of 6 months to channel a new constitution. Then that takes me to what is interim. Interim government are created under diverse circumstances, including regime collapse, negotiated agreement, special election, or international intervention. Their mandates range from providing or restoring basic state services like how now, such as preparation for a new constitution or introduction of reform. Examples are manifold. For instance, an existing regime like our own, dealing with fundamental crisis. Don't we have fundamental crisis now? You will pray to God to let you get to where you are when you are going back, because you don't know what will not happen. Travel by airport, by air is risky. Travel by road is risky. Travel by train is risky. Don't you have crisis? We do.
You can watch the full interview with Are Babalola on Newsnight. It airs tomorrow, Monday, May 2nd, 2022, at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka was today cited during a visit to Benin Republic, where Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Igboho has been in custody of security operatives. Professor Soyinka, who reminded the media that neither him nor Mr. Igboho is a Muslim, said that Ramadan is a good time to express non-denominational solidarity. Sunday Igboho has been under arrest and has been in custody since July 19th, 2021. Following the Kaduna train terrorist attack that left 9 people dead and others kidnapped, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has filed a suit against the federal government over what they consider is failure to protect victims' rights to life. The rights group is also suing the government for failing to secure the safe release of those held captive by the terrorists. According to SERAP, the suit follows reports that the Federal Executive Council failed to approve funds for surveillance equipment that could have helped to prevent the train attack. The suit filed before the ECOWAS Court of Justice in Abuja. SERAP is seeking a declaration that the train attack, abductions and killings of passengers by terrorists amount to a failure by the government to protect Nigerians and to protect these grave human rights violations. SERAP is also seeking an order directing the federal government to protect human rights of Nigerians, including travelers across the country, by ensuring adequate security and also take measures to prevent attacks. Terrorists had on March 28th attacked the AK-9 Abuja-Kaduna train, killing at least 9 people, wounding several others and abducting a number of passengers. The victims have remained with the terrorists for over a month. Still ahead on the news at 10, head of Guinea's military announces a 3-year transitional plan that will return the country to civilian rule. To join us again. Politics now. Presidential aspirants are leaving no stone unturned as different parties' primaries inch closer, which is why the Minister of Transportation and presidential aspirant on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, Rotimi Amechi, has continued to woo delegates across the country. During his visit to his home state of Rivers, Mr. Amechi said he will support whoever emerges the party's flag bearer, while the leadership of the APC in Delta State says it's pledged its support for the Transport Minister come May 30.
In Delta State, Honorable Chibuike Amechi and his entourage visiting the leaders of APC in the state at the State Party Secretariat in Asaba to seek their support in 2023. Addressing the gathering, he promises to complete the rail projects in the state and the South-South region if elected as president.
South-South is part of Nigeria. I got the president to approve money. He was not alone. I got the president to approve money funded from the budget. Today you can travel from Italy to Warri, and there is a park that will provide you a vehicle that will take you to Abuja. If I don't become the president of Nigeria, forget it. Forget what? Nobody will do that project. You know why they won't do it? It's $11.1 billion. That is, for now, the biggest project in the world. Check anywhere in the world that the contract above $11.1 billion.
The chairman of the APC in Delta State appreciates Mr. Amechi for his good leadership in bringing unity and development to the party in the state. He assures him that all the delegates from the state will cast their votes for him at the presidential primaries.
We stand with you. We stand behind you. We have 88 statutory delegates here. By the time you add the ad hoc delegates, we will have 161. We want to assure you that all the votes will be cast.
The presidential hopeful and his team were also at the palace of the traditional ruler of Asaba, the Asagba, Professor Joseph Erdozien, and the traditional council for royal blessings and support. From there to the APC Secretariat in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. He also met and made consultations with the delegates of the APC in River State towards the presidential primaries.
99% of Rivers delegates, from what we saw from the statutory delegates, will vote for you. Those who are qualified to vote as statutory delegates will vote for you. The opportunity will be given to everybody. We will run this governorship, this presidential election. We will run, and I'm loyal to the president, and I'm loyal to the party.
The chairman of the APC in River State emphasizes that the APC in River State is fully in support of his presidential ambition.
Rivers delegate will vote for you, and I know my brothers who are statutory delegates will vote for you, because all of us seated here today from Rivers who are benefiting from you.
He did not end his trip there. He also paid homage to the traditional ruler of Port Harcourt, the Obiri of Rebisi, Eze Victor Nana Wachulim, in his palace. He was welcomed and given a sculpture of crocodile, which symbolized his strength, presented to him by the monarch.
The people of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP in Benue State, has recorded a clean sweep of Saturday's council election conducted by the Benue State's Independent Electoral Commission across the 23 local government areas of the state. The chairman of the state's Electoral Commission announced the result in Makurdi. He said the PDP also cleared the 270 available councillorship positions at the poll. 3 political parties, namely the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, the Labour Party, and the People's Democratic Party, participated in the electoral process, whereas the main opposition party, the All Progressives Congress, opted out. The National Assembly has extended the implementation of the 2021 Appropriation Act from March 31st to May 31st, 2022. According to the upper chamber, the extension was approved in view of the need to complete ongoing projects nearing completion. However, financial analysts are concerned the extension of the implementation of national budgets make for a confusing budget cycle and is a distortion of the budget calendar. In this report, our correspondent, Linda Kibe, examines some of the issues affecting the strict adherence of implementing the capital component of the national budget cycle.
On the 5th of April, the National Assembly extended the implementation of the 2021 budget from 31st March to 31st May 2022. This is not the first time Parliament is extending a budget cycle. In the past, the National Assembly passed prior appropriation acts mid-year, with the implementation usually extended to the following year.
2021 be approved, sir.
However, the 9th Assembly successfully returned the country to a January to December budget cycle. Although the National Assembly has sustained this practice in the last 2 years, it recently extended the implementation of the capital component of a 2021 budget to May 31st, 2022, to run concurrently with the 2022 budget.
Don't forget that we passed 2 budgets last year. There was a supplementary budget that was passed to address the issue of insecurity. And we felt that for us to have a proper implementation of this budget, that the provision has been, instead of mopping up this fund, and all the process that we have started on now resulted into our completed project, we deem it fit that at least this extension of this budget will go on while the implementation of 2022 budget, once it is amended by the National Assembly, can continue pari passu.
An economic analyst, however, tells Channels Television that the extension of a budget cycle has negative consequences.
Moving capital projects to March and then to May distorts the financial flow and the financial calendar of private sectors. Everybody has an accounting period. So by the time you allow recurrent to run from January to December and then capital from January to May, it becomes confusing.
But maintaining a strict one-year budget cycle will be impossible without adequate revenue to fund the budget, which has been a fundamental challenge. The alarming jump for petroleum subsidy from 442.72 billion naira earmarked for fuel subsidy in the 2022 budget from January to June to 4 trillion naira is also noteworthy.
Rather than spend 4 trillion on petroleum subsidy, give 1 trillion of it to agriculture.
Analysts want government to be pragmatic in addressing the problem of illegal refineries in the country and generating revenue.
It's important for government to support states that are into modular that have invested into modular refineries. Modular refineries have the capacity to produce smaller quantity of crude oil on a daily basis.
NNPC has now become a corporate limited company. Okay. What we need to do now is to go and value the assets of NNPC and then take NNPC to the capital market. Let's shift the story to equity issuance. Let's move that way instead of debt financing.
Nigeria is grappling with a huge deficit in the 2022 budget, revenue shortages, and an expenditure of 4 trillion naira to fund petrol subsidy in 2022. Economic analysts want robust interactions between the executive and the legislature to find solutions to these problems and build consensus before the next budget is presented to the National Assembly. Linda Kibe, Channels Television News.
Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have intercepted travelers' checks in different foreign currencies with a total value of over 1 billion naira at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. At least a suspect has been arrested in connection to the attempt to export the checks, which were concealed inside 4 bound hardcover books disguised as academic project literature to the United Kingdom. The financial instruments suspected to be counterfeits were discovered during cargo examination of some consignments meant for export to the UK. In the meantime, operatives of the agency at the airport also foiled attempts by drug traffickers to smuggle into Nigeria 10.9 kilograms of cocaine through a Qatar Airways flight. The illicit drug was hidden in 7 children duvets, packed in an unaccompanied bag from Brazil. Meanwhile, raid operations in Kaduna, Ondo, and Akwa Ibom states have led to the seizure of about 2,000 kilograms of tramadol, codeine, cannabis, and heroin. In Ondo State, 401 kilograms of cannabis was recovered, and 2 suspects were arrested at a forest in Owo area. The Delta State University, Abraka, has continued to blaze its trail in academic excellence, recording over 170 first-class degrees and producing close to 13,000 graduates in various degrees and fields over the past 3 years, as well as making plans underway to launch a 30 billion naira endowment fund. These are some of the highlights during the institution's 30th anniversary and 14th convocation ceremony at Abraka. The week-long event, which culminates lots of activities, also features lectures from personalities such as the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and a renowned public speaker from Kenya, Professor Patrick Otieno Lumba. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, who was special guest of the occasion, also commissioned some projects executed by the school management.
It's the 14th convocation ceremony of the Delta State University, Abraka. There's lined up of activities for the week-long event. Some of them, convocation lecture series anchored by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and renowned public speaker from Kenya, Professor Patrick Lumba. Both underscored the relationship between education and development.
Quality education is a great help in fulfilling your generational mission, that is for peace, for democracy, and for development.
If Africa is to realize our potential, what we must do is to re-educate ourselves, because we have been miseducated for too long.
Some projects, including buildings for the departments of pharmacy, nursing, arts and culture, are commissioned for use.
Amen.
The final day of event is one some of the graduates from 2018 to 2021 have been waiting for.
Gloria Deborah, Basic Medical Sciences.
Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, who's represented here, is proud of the achievements of the school over the years.
As a government, we are proud of the giant strides that this university has recorded in 30 years of its existence. It has stayed faithful to its commitments to its core mandate of research, teaching and learning.
Former governors James Ibori and Emmanuel Uduaga are among the dignitaries present for the convocation, which also celebrates the university's 30th Founders Day and honor deserving members of the public. The school is launching a 30 billion naira endowment fund to help the institution achieve its next goals.
We are talking about mobilizing corporate Nigeria for DELSU at 30 and beyond. And this is going to be a 30 billion naira fund because we are 30. And this money is going to come from people of goodwill, believing that to have a long-term project, they'll be donating over time to this fund. So this fund will be growing gradually.
Delta State University boasts as having the highest numbers of professors in the country and plans to continue to uphold its slogan, the great brains.
With the degrees of Bachelor of Arts.
And now to the arts. The Essential Jimo Akolo is an exhibition of rare works done by the veteran Art Co Gallery in Lagos. Unlike his colleagues, Demas Moko, Bruce Onobrapea, Yusuf Grillo, and Uche Okeke, Jimo Akolo, who was also a founding member of the Zaria Art Society, has not been celebrated. On Art Review tonight, we look at the works from this painter and sculptor, some of which had to be sourced from private collections.
It's an exhibition that the art community has been looking forward to for many years. So the hall is packed as dignitaries, creatives and collectors gather to see the retrospective drawings and paintings of this veteran artist whose name has not been celebrated as much as his peers. But the honor done for him today is heartwarming for members of his family. For those who never heard of him, Jimoh Akolo was born in Lagos in 1934 and originally from Egbe, Kogi State. He started painting early in his life while at Kefi Boys Secondary School. The veteran attended the Nigerian College of Arts, Science and Technology, Kaduna, along with his peers, Dimas Woko, Bruce Onobrakbea, Yusuf Grillo, and Uche Okeke.
He will be remembered for a lot of his paintings. Some of them acquired by the federal government, you know. But the interesting thing is that this exhibition is more like a revival, because for a long time, you know, one has never seen a collection of his works, you know, being exhibited as we have now.
This artistic journey is from 1961 to 2015, with over 31 drawings and paintings, which takes the crowd through his signature style landscapes, interesting sceneries, and personalities.
Jimoh Akolo's works are special in the sense that they are works that capture the very essence of his personality. And that is why we decided to title the exhibition The Essential Jimoh Akolo.
The retired professor of art education combined teaching, administration, and a vibrant career, but his works and life as an artist has received little exposure. This is one of the reasons Co-Gallery decided to put together this show for the art community in Lagos and beyond to experience and share in his ingenuity.
Beyond our shores now, Guinea's military junta has set its transition to civilian rule 3 years from now, a proposal likely to upset ECOWAS, which has called for a swift return to constitutional order after last year's rule. Head of the junta, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who took power in September, said that after political consultations, he was considering a transition of 39 months, which will be the first time he has proposed a timeline. Guinea's former president, Alpha Condé, had been detained since last September when Special Forces troops overthrew him on allegations of fostering endemic state corruption. However, Condé was released in late April this year. Military coups have made a comeback in West Africa as leaders have snatched power in Mali, Burkina Faso and Guinea over the last 2 years, raising concerns of a backslide in democracy. Dozens of civilians have been evacuated from the Ukrainian city of Mariupol and being sent to both Russia-controlled and Ukraine-controlled territory after weeks of the city being under siege. Some have left the Azovstal steelworks plants, the last holdout of the Ukrainian troops in the strategically significant city. The UN has confirmed it was involved in the operation alongside the Red Cross and the parties to the conflict. The civilians were evacuated on Sunday from the bunkers of Mariupol's Azovstal steelworks after the United Nations and International Red Cross led a deal to ease the ordeal of the most destructive siege of the war in Ukraine. Russian forces have pummeled the port city for nearly 2 months, turning Mariupol into a wasteland with an unknown death toll and thousands trying to survive without water, sanitation or food. The convoy had traveled 230 kilometers to reach the steelworks. Following the evacuation, some eventually arrived in the village of Bezimen, in an area of Donetsk under the control of Russia-backed separatists, around 30 kilometers east of Mariupol. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the first group of civilians evacuated from Mariupol's Azovstal steelworks will arrive in Zaporizhzhia on Monday morning. This weekend, he had received another U.S. delegation led by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who said they were there to say thank you for fighting for freedom. Speaking about the visit in Poland on Sunday, Ms. Pelosi said America stands with Ukraine until victory is won, and another message for the Ukrainian president about bullies.
Do not be bullied by bullies. If they're making threats, you cannot back down. That's my view of it, that we're there for the fight, and you cannot fold to a bully.
Still on Sunday, Russia's defense ministry confirmed the military struck a military airport near Odessa with high-precision missiles, destroying an arsenal that contained weapons and ammunition supplied by the U.S. and European countries and damaging the airport runway. Another high-profile visit to Ukraine also took place on Sunday. U.S. actor and UNHCR Special Envoy Angelina Jolie had to make a hasty retreat from a railway station in the city of Lviv as sirens rang out. She had been visiting displaced children at the station. Pope Francis today paid tribute to journalists who have died or been jailed in the line of duty, defending a free press and praising those in the media who courageously report on humanity's wounds. He was speaking to thousands of people in St. Peter's Square for his weekly address and blessing, while noting that May 3rd would be the United Nations World Press Freedom Day. He did give the source of the statistics. UNESCO, the United UN organization that sponsors World Press Freedom Day, said earlier this year that 55 journalists and media workers were killed in 2021. The New York-based Committee to Protect Journalists says it has confirmed that at least 7 journalists have died while covering the war in Ukraine and is investigating whether others were killed because of their work. Reporters Without Borders, which is based in Paris, says it has documented a number of attacks directly targeting journalists wearing press armbands in Ukraine. Starting off in the Nigerian Professional Football League in sports news, where MFM FC remains stuck at the bottom of the table after failing to beat Rangers International in Lagos. The game ended goalless at the Teslim Balogun Stadium. Elsewhere, Katsina United pipped defending champions Aqua United by a lone goal. Sunshine Stars and Shooting Stars battled to a goalless draw. Kwara United beat Rivers United 2-1. Heartland versus Abia Warriors also ended 2-1 in favour of the home side. Remo Stars edged Wiki Tourists 1-0, while Lobi Stars beat Nasarawa United 2-1. To the Premier League, Richarlison scored a crucial second-half winner as Everton beat Chelsea to move within 2 points of the Premier League safety zone. The win moves the Toffees to within 2 points of Burnley in 16th and Leeds in 17th, with a game in hand on both. Elsewhere, Harry Kane and Son Heung-min rediscovered their touch in front of goal as Tottenham beat Leicester 3-1 to boost their hopes of a top-4 Premier League finish. But Arsenal responded to that result by beating West Ham 2-1, a result which sees the Gunners reclaim 4th on the log ahead of their North London rivals. To the NBA playoffs, the Milwaukee Bucks have drawn first blood in their Eastern Conference semi-final series against the Boston Celtics with a victory in Game 1. Giannis Antetokounmpo led the way for the defending champions with a triple-double on 24 points, 13 rebounds and 12 assists as Milwaukee won by 101 to 89 points at the TD Garden. The Bucks also got 25 points from Jrue Holiday, while Jason Tatum had 21 points for the Celtics, although he shot just 6 of 18 from the field. Both teams will face off again in Game 2 of the 7-game series on Wednesday in Boston. Holger Rune has won his first career ATP title after his opponent Botic van de Zandschulp retired in the final of the BMW Open in Munich. Well, Van led 4-3 in the opening set, with Rune serving at 40-15 when the Dutchman retired due to an aching chest. The run to the title caps a memorable week for Rune. who returned 19 on Friday. With the win, he becomes the third youngest Munich champion in the Open era, with the fifth first-time winner on the ATP Tour in 2022.
Simpson, 40-15. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Van der Santrup has to retire.
This was probably the worst way to win a final. I was, obviously expecting a very tough match, and he came out very strong, and then all of a sudden something happened to him, and, for now I just wish him all the best, a speedy recovery, and, we all hope to see him back on court very soon.
And world number one Novak Djokovic has admitted he is still struggling mentally in his effort to get back to top form. Djokovic was unable to defend his Australian Open title in January after being deported from the country due to not being vaccinated against COVID-19. The 34-year-old also sat out ATP Masters 1000 events in Miami and Indian Wells. His lack of match practice showed in his first two clay court tournaments of the season. He was knocked out by Alejandro Davidovic Fokina in Monte Carlo and was beaten by Andrei Rublev in the final in Belgrade last month. And the main news again. It is May Day and the federal government has hailed the resilient spirit of the Nigerian worker and asked labor unions to not see it as an enemy, but argue as members of one progressive family. That's it, all the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Enjoy the holiday.